Welcome to this week's episode of Analyzing Chazal. This week we'll be analyzing the commentary of Rashi on this week's Parshas Toldos. Let's go to the Pasuk. Perek Chaf Pasuk of Zayin. The Pasuk says, Vayigdulu Anorim Vayesav Ish Yodei Tzayir Ish Sodev Yaakov Ish Tom Yoshev Ohalim. And the boys grew up, and Esav became a man who knew hunting and was a man of the field, while Yaakov was a simple person who sat in the tents. Rashi. Kimashma'o Adam Batel Vitsode Bekashto Chayot V'ofot. Like its simple meaning, a man who has nothing to do and hunts animals and birds. The explanation of Rashi. Rashi is explaining that the words Ish Sadeh, which the Torah uses to describe Esav, is that of a person who does nothing constructive and spends his time hunting animals and birds. Hint. What do we know about the sins that Esav transgressed? Okay. With the information you already have and the hint, can you come up with the question yourself? All right, here's the question. We know that Esav was a huge rasha who transgressed all of the worst sins from idol worship and murder to idolatry and theft. The Torah, when it describes Esav, tells us that he was a person who wasted his time away hunting animals. Is this really the proper description of someone who transgressed some of the worst sins? Should have the Torah not described him as a person who was violent and given over to his desires rather than a person who wasted his time? The answer, as we always say, comes from within the question, which was that Esav was a huge rasha who transgressed all of the worst sins from idol worship and murder to idolatry and theft. The Torah, when it describes Esav, tells us that he was a person who wasted his time away hunting animals. Should have the Torah not described him as a person who was violent and given over to his desires rather than a person who wasted his time? The answer is no, and the reason is that in essence what allowed Esav to come to the point where he transgressed all those sins was that he was a person that wasted his time and had no constructive purpose in his life. The practical application. In the world of chinuch, many times we see our children or students not necessarily doing anything wrong, but not really doing anything constructive. And we say to ourselves, this is not so bad. At least he's not doing anything wrong. What we need to realize is that not doing anything constructive can very well be the catalyst, chas v'shalom, for actual sins. Even if a boy or girl is not cut out for the rigors of school and are not successful in that form, but we need to make sure that they at least are constructive, preferably in an atmosphere of Yiras Shamayim, as that ability to remain constructive will hopefully hold them strong in their avodas Hashem until they mature and can begin to grow in their ruchnias. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and we'll see you next week for Parshas Vayetze.